Excellent. So we're going to have the brilliant Rob Alty, so let's start the clapping.
First night, give a round of applause for organising the first night, because I think this is considered a good time. I don't really know a lot about Stratford, but I do know that this is the birthplace of William Shakespeare. That's about as much as I know about William Shakespeare. Although I do know that two of his characters, both Romeo and Juliet, are featured in the phonetic alphabet. To be! Yeah, I didn't think that one would work. On the other hand, it's not to be featured in the phonetic alphabet. It's nice to be here. And first of all, I had a quite a good experience in Stratford because I ordered a latte earlier on, and with the latte, you got served with them Smarties. Is this common in Stratford? No? Well, you can get Smarties. It's very triggering if you're diabetic. So I travelled here from Gloucester. Took your time, didn't you? But yeah, Gloucester, it's not a bad place really. We've got a lovely cathedral. And we've made the not the headlines, we've actually been made famous again because we've got a documentary on Netflix about our two most famous residents, Fred and Rose West. Now, I have to say, I do feel a little bit sorry for Fred, because Fred always gets remembered for all the serial killing. He doesn't get remembered, he was actually a really good builder. It was just a shame that when he did his building work, things went missing. Persons. Got your first grade tonight. But that's lovely, thank you. There's another guy from Gloucester as well, who wishes to remain anonymous, because he walked in, it's a true story, I don't know if this sort of stuff happens in Stratford, but someone walked into the A&E to Gloucester Royal Hospital with a World War II mortar up his bottom. They had to call out the bum squad. But he's one of the few people who actually is a legend, because he was quite lucky, because he got a whole ward to himself. Because nobody wanted to be around him, just in case he blew off. But I didn't notice I talk about a lot of morbid stuff. I'm actually addicted to true crime documentaries. Is there anyone in Stratford here addicted to true crime documentaries? No, you surprised me. But I work a lot of shifts, so I ended up watching a lot of true crime documentaries. But there's a channel that I'm really addicted to. It's called Investigation Discovery. Has anyone heard of it? No. You get better channels than what we get in Gloucester. They're free, so bear with me. But they do a lot of things about, they call it Investigation Discovery, but what I discovered about Investigation Discovery in my investigations, they love murder. Now, I'd just like to point out that I'm not a murderer, but most people on Investigation Discovery who claim not to be a murderer normally end up being a murderer. But you've got lots of programs with murder in the title. You've got Murder Town, Murder Comes to Town, Murder Under the Friday Night Lights, Murder on the Dance Floor. And that's about a serial killer found all her victims in burnt out nightclubs. And then Sophie Ellis-Bextor. I'll tell you what you see in a different light to what you see on the Freeman's adverts. So a little bit about me. I'm 48 years old, and you may have already worked this out, but I always struggle to cope in high pressure situations. And a lot of people wonder, well, why do you do comedy? Well, basically, I can't afford therapy. Now, at work, I'm described as funny, but on the verge of a nervous breakdown. When I'm having a nervous breakdown, I'm described as on the verge of being funny. But there are a lot of things at work that do cause me stress. For example, I'm not very good at DIY. And the problem with not being good at DIY is when I do DIY, there are always people watching me. And that makes me more nervous because I know that they're watching me and they're expecting me to make a mistake. But when someone expects you to make a mistake and you're nervous, you make mistakes. But they can always tell when I'm struggling, because every time I start struggling, I start rubbing the back of my head. Now, I don't know why I think this helps me do it. It helps me think more clearly. It doesn't. It just makes me more stressed. I'm bored! But the other thing that makes me even more nervous when I'm doing DIY is when my boss decides that he wants me to do a DIY task with a deadline. Now, a deadline to most people means that you have to complete a job within a time frame. A deadline means, to me, that myself or somebody else is going to end up dead because you hurried me. So if I'm trying to use power tools and start putting things up, I know that I'm now going to do this to a deadline, so somebody's going to be sort of rushing me, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to make more mistakes trying to put mistakes right because I'm so nervous and tense, and then someone's going to, and then I'm going to work out that I'm going to have to try and put this right, and if I don't put this right in the deadline, which I probably won't, I'm going to have to work out who I'm going to call. And I'll tell you who I'm going to have to call. I'm going to have to call maintenance team, health and safety officer, structural engineer, or paramedic, or coroner. But you know what makes a nervous person more nervous at work? Nervous colleagues. Because if I'm doing a job and I'm nervous, and I know that my colleague is nervous, this makes me feel more nervous because I'm trying not to be nervous to show I'm nervous when I know that I'm going to make them more nervous, and they're more nervous, looking at me thinking, I'm getting more nervous because he's nervous, and I don't want to... Two negative people do not create a positive outcome. Two negative people create a natural disaster. But there are people who do try and help by trying to say helpful things, which they think are helpful, which are not. When someone sees you're struggling, comes up to you and says, "It's fine, don't panic." Never ever tell a panic and not to panic. If the first thing they will do is panic because you told them not to panic, therefore I start panicking. Anyway, as you can tell, I've got some issues. And I appreciate you listening to them. Good night, thank you.